I borrowed a couple of books from the library on astronomy, and it was for a young lady that I met a few times here that seemed to be awestruck by the beautiful stars she could see at night. I don't know if I'll see her again because she comes and visits somebody else that's camping. But anyways, I read these and I enjoyed, and it made me think of an explanation about how our species is losing language. But first, let me say thank you to the Castlegar Library for deciding to invest in its patrons because they did update their hardware to have better internet that matches a little bit more generalized modernity of the hometown when it comes to internet services. So, that's not necessarily an impact on all of, like, let's say, customer service, but they're more patron-centered when they do this, when they are no longer probably the slowest that they were with internet providing. So thank you, and I mean not just to update it, but to also the service was extremely slow that it was hard to just do like a Zoom or YouTube one thing at a time, right? It was not great. But thank you for doing that. I noticed the contractor checking out stuff, and I noticed the visit after that it sped up. So thank you. And I'm glad I didn't get myself banned from there, knowing it was possible to improve. I mean, how could it stay that bad for that long? And when I'm not the only one talking about it, except I'm the only one expecting, obvious cultural repair. So you see the breakage, the glue. There's another one that I glued that was my favorite. So I'm gonna go and see the funding that I get for optometrist in my mediocre insurance plan. A dehumanizing also insurance plan, where the business world still tries to take advantage of poor people that have, substandard insurance plans. So I'm going to be very specific when I reach an optometrist, and I am going to also ask the Chamber of Commerce and also the MLA to recommend one that is human-friendly, meaning not going to discriminate against people of low income. So minimalists as well. So when I get there, I'll be very clear with my use of language that I will not have the funds, especially preparing to travel a distance for a court case to try to make the world better for you, is I can go with just basic frames. Whatever's covered, I can't go beyond. Then they might say, we actually don't have frames cheap enough for what your plan covers. So I mean, they'll say probably it's impossible to do that. And of course they'll want to do an exam, and it's been a while since I've had an exam, but it'll be nice to have a new set of glasses that I'll protect well, that I won't have to switch, take on and off, because there are roles of helper volunteer that I'd like to get into before the end of the year, and having things that only work at a certain distance because my eyes have changed since then. And these are generic ones that are bought in a pharmacy, and they're the same on both sides. And my eyes might have varied a bit more in their disabilities when it comes to the efficiency they used to have. So it'll be nice to have something like this for somebody that wants to be a helper without additional barriers of vision in the scope of a helper in communities. So I'll be clear with the optometrist. And sometimes when the business world communicates with me, when I've been very clear, like at the onset, is there's dishonesty. Sometimes there's just a lack of the ability to, to use words efficiently or listen efficiently. And there's also other phenomenon like they don't even know that they're being manipulative because they're in the business world, right? So we'll see what happens there. Now, what I was thinking about, because I've been commenting for years on how our species is losing one of the things that makes it feel great about itself, which is the use of language, and which it's not the only species to use. And by the way, language, we can even include nonverbal communication if you want it, and tones and grunts, and even breathing patterns could be a form of communication. So one way to describe what's happening to us now is if bees that can communicate with each other through nonverbal communication through body language to, let's say, give directions on how to get to this great resource that one has found. And they might use, let's say, the sun as reference, because let's say they are consistent in the time they start in the morning, and the sun is a great reference because, they can pretty much tell where it is in many ways. Or, some species magnetic field, they can do that. But let's say a bee suddenly decides to use a cloud as a if they could, I'm not sure if they can, but a cloud as a point of reference in giving directions. And of course, clouds are moving, right? They're not staying in the same place. And then there's all these other bees kind of paying attention, listening to this body language. Now, now it'd be ridiculous because the bee cannot tell, very unlikely, which direction the wind is moving this cloud, at what speed, when it might not even be in the territory they cover anymore. And yet, they might think they're creative or not even know that they're devolving their ability to use language because it's become a useless point of reference. And not only is the one telling these directions, but the others not able to comprehend, the scientific properties of our atmosphere and how clouds form and which directions they go and how they even change shapes, because the shape might be described in this in the directions, and it won't be like that anymore. It won't be there anymore. It'll be going in a different direction. So that's kind of how our species is. It used to, take pride in communication and be more quality driven with it, especially when it was crucial. And then suddenly the intellectual laziness, the HSD got in there, and nobody calls quality or accountability anymore in all cultures of the world, that we've devolved, that we are now, as this example would be, using language. We're losing words. We're not defining them properly. We're not understanding ones we use. And then nobody calls each other on this. Nobody defines them. Nobody says that doesn't make sense. While the bees would probably, hey, I'm not listening to that guy giving directions next time because, I tried this new thing he was talking about and it wasn't there. It didn't exist in the real world. So interacting with the people primates using language, which I pretty much have no choice to do, and even trying nonverbal body language, it seems like it's a useless thing to do because they're already quite disconnected from the natural world. And they've used language as one of the ways to devolve themselves, which of course can be measured objectively if there was scientists such as myself who were, investing in such projects.